This is the fastest wither skeleton farm on Bedrock Edition that doesn't use nether portals. In this video, I will show you how to best pick your location to make the farm, find its spawning spaces, where to AFK, where to spawn proof, and how to set up the killing chamber with simple Trident killers so you can get looting 3 drops from the farm. So to get started, you're going to take yourself to a nether fortress in the nether. You can find these a couple of different ways, one of which is to just explore around in the nether on foot. Another would be to like make a copy of your world, go into like creative or spectator mode and travel around until you find one. Then write down the coordinates somewhere and visit those coordinates in the like real copy of the world, or you can hit the escape button, go to settings. If you're on like a single player world, you could pull your seed number right here. You could pop that into chunk base. And chunk base is just a simple website, chunkbase.com, and you go to the home page. It'll look like this. You just need to click on apps, and for our purposes here, you'll click on nether fortresses. You'll make sure your seed number is in there, as well as what version of the game you're playing. And then from there, all the little red dots that you see, those are all nether fortresses. You may want to start by looking at where your coordinates in the nether are. I can put it on 0, 0 and hit go, and it'll tell me what my location is right there. And then I can check nether fortresses that are close to me to look for certain conditions. Now, this will work with any nether fortress that you find potentially, but there's some that are going to be an incredible amount easier than others. The main thing that you're going to want to look for is if you can find one that's over top of lava. Like it would be big bridges and such like this, and then it would just be all lava below. You see, we kind of got some lava lake over here, but this one is not directly over lava, which will make things a tiny bit harder, but honestly not too bad. Because the second thing you're going to look for is an area that is kind of like this, that's kind of open. You don't want a whole lot of like Netherrack shelves all around, or this thing to be buried inside of like the side of some type of area, because you're going to have to do a lot of spawn proofing if that's going to be the case. So if you can, find an area just like this. If you can't, well, you're going to follow the steps I'm also going to take here anyways. You're just unfortunately going to have to do a whole lot more of it than I'm going to have to do here at this location, since this is a fairly ideal location to work in. Now, when you're in survival mode, this will be a little bit difficult for you, right? Because you're out here in the nether and you're going to have mobs spawning in on you. Now, these guys do require a light level to spawn in. So my biggest recommendation I would have for you, just getting started out, would be to grab a bunch of torches and just down all of these rows. Just go ahead and place down a fair amount of lights, and that'll help keep some of the mobs from spawning in. Also, stay away from the mob spawners, like the blaze spawner there, because they'll spawn mobs in on you too. And you don't have to go incredibly far, but you're going to want to go a decent ways. Also, I did not mention this yet, but I am going to do this completely for simulation distance 4. That is the default simulation distance for anybody's world that they create brand new, unless you change it manually yourself. And it's the simulation distance is compatible with realms and multiplayer servers as well. So I want to make sure this is going to be compatible for anybody. And honestly, you don't really need to have higher than a simulation distance 4 for this anyways. It's going to work pretty good regardless. And actually, if anything, having a higher simulation distance would probably make this even harder than it will be otherwise, because we have to worry about spawn proofing more areas. So for tutorial purposes, I'll be doing everything in creative mode just so I can put this together for you guys in a way that looks a little bit better and like makes a little bit more sense. So one of the things that we need to do first, really the thing we need to do first, is we need to find all of the spawning spots. Now I'm going to give you a few different ways to do that, or a couple of different ways to do it. I'm going to give you an easy way, and I'm going to give you the 100% survival friendly way. So for the easy way, go ahead and click on the edit button on your world, and you're going to make a copy of the world. Once you have the copy, go into the copy, edit it, and put yourself into creative mode, because again, it's a copy of the world. It does not matter if we get rid of achievements on the copy, only on the main world. Now, once you're on the copy of the world, you're going to want to do a few things. First of all, we've kind of found a decent area that I know we want to work in. We have a lot of like straight paths here, and we have a lot of intersections. So this is probably going to be generally the area that we're going to care about finding spawning spots. We're going to go ahead and just knock down all these rails within like a reasonably close area of where we are. And then any of these little like fence gates that exist, get rid of those. Because sometimes the spawning spots can be on the rails, and we want to make sure we capture those if that's actually the case. And we'll go ahead and we'll just flatten this little area right here out as well. And there's one more thing I want you to do. This is something I've noticed in my testing. The way that these like structures work, any kind of structure, it'll have predetermined spawning spots. That's what we're going to be looking for. So it may determine, and we're going to find these here in a second, but it may say that this is a spawning spot right there. And that's the spot always that the mobs will spawn in. And there'll be multiple of these throughout the Nether Fortress. One thing I've noticed though, is the spawning spots aren't always perfectly on the paths. I've seen them sometimes appear kind of like in the corners of like out in the air of the paths. So what we're going to do is we're just going to expand out. You don't have to do it a lot because I haven't seen any that have gone vastly outside of the fortress. I guess it's technically possible, but it's not very likely. So we're just going to fill in the little corner right here. And we may see if we can catch any like right in here too. So we'll get rid of this. We'll fill in this little corner right here. This little corner right here and this little corner right here. Okay, then what we want to do is we want to pick roughly what our AFK location is going to be, where we are going to be standing. Now, this is actually kind of important. No matter what way you do this, you need to know where you're going to like actually place yourself. And you want to place yourself in a way that's going to keep you as far away from a lot of the like stuff around as possible. So you have to do less spawn proofing. So I think what we'll do is we'll pick somewhere like maybe like right over here, right? And what we want to do is we're going to go up at least 25 blocks, or really exactly 25 blocks. So in this case, we'll go up to about Y level 99, which will put us right there. So we can go ahead and get rid of all of those. You'll have to give yourself some way up there. I'll let you figure that part out. But I know that this is where we would like to be able to AFK. Now, what I want to do is I want to give myself a command block, give @self command_block. And with those command blocks, you're going to want to do two things. I've placed down two of them here. The first one right here, set it to repeat unconditional needs redstone delay and ticks for 10. And then put this command in it, which every time a wither skeleton is detected, it will place a lime wool block underneath its feet. And then everything is the same here except for the command. We will /kill E, so it kills everything, including those wither skeletons, so they don't walk around and spread lime wool everywhere. Add a lever on top of the wither skeleton one, flip it on, and go ahead and make sure you take yourself out of peaceful mode. And you'll see we have a lime wool block already right there. And we should see them periodically jump in. We want to stay up here just so we only see the spots that are loaded where we're standing. And you're going to want to let this run for about 5 minutes or so. It is killing some of the wither skeletons without placing the lime wool blocks. We want to give it enough time to properly run. Although we could increase our odds here by changing this to say a 5 tick instead of a 10. We'll leave the kill all command at 10 ticks, and it should place the wool a little bit more frequently before the wither skeletons are killed. Okay, I'm gonna let this run for a few minutes. All right, after several minutes, go ahead and shut it down, and you should have all of your spawning spots. I came down here once or twice, so some extra spots that were outside of my area did pop in. This one's outside, this one's outside. These guys, I think what happened is the wither skeleton spawned in and then pushed his buddy over. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get rid of this one that's kind of like out of the normal path. And this is everything we have available from up there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 spawning spots from this one location right here. That's kind of nuts. That's a lot of spawning locations. You don't have to use all of them, but you can if you want to. That part's up to you. Let me show you really quick how to do this the legit way in survival without the command blocks and copy the world and all that stuff. Okay, so this method right here, we're gonna basically do what we did with the command block, but we're gonna do it the manual way. So the way that mobs spawn on Bedrock Edition right now for all mobs, and even in the future update where they're changing this, it's still going to work like this for structures as far as we know today. Mobs spawn in the northwest corner of a block. So let's say this is the block that the mob is checked to see if it can spawn in. It doesn't spawn in the center, it spawns in the corner right here, which actually is a good thing for the method that we're using here, because it means we can find that spawn spot. Because when you put glass panes together, you leave that center spot open. So what we want to do is this. We want to try to trap any potential mobs that could spawn in. So I've set this floor up the exact same way we did earlier, where I filled in the corners and got rid of all the stuff, and I set the AFK spot up in the same spot and everything. What we need to do is we need to put a little temporary block down right there, or a pane or whatever, and then put a pane on top of that. And we need to place glass panes within a reasonable area everywhere close to our AFK spot. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this area with that now, and then once that's done, the hard work begins. And yes, this is going to be a fairly time consuming part of it if you do it this way, but it is necessary if you want to try to find where your spawning spots are. If you are enjoying this video, you can help support the channel by clicking the like button down below. To get notified about new videos on the Bedrock Guide Let's Play series, tutorials, and more, click the subscribe button and make sure you click that bell icon to turn notifications on. To get notified about new videos on the Bedrock Guide Let's Play series, tutorials, and more, make sure you click that subscribe button and make sure you click that bell icon to turn your notifications on. Thank you, and back to the video. Okay, once you get the whole thing laid out, it should look something like this. We've kind of covered all of the zone that we're looking for spawns in the glass panes at that second block level right there. We've given ourselves a way up. I can just fly up, but in survival, you give yourself a way up. And you're gonna also want to give yourself a way to just go away and come back. And I'm gonna explain why here in just a second. So let's actually go the route of turning this thing on, and you're gonna see mobs start to spawn in. Now, not everywhere you see a mob spawn in 100% means that it's going to be where wither skeletons spawn in. But if you see fortress specific mobs in there, such as that little dude right there, the blaze, that is a spot where wither skeletons should spawn in. So this is what we want to do when we find those spots, because they're going to periodically come in and out, and this part in survival is not going to be easy. They're spawning in the corner of 4 different blocks right there. So if I were to go down and I were to knock out this block right here and place this down, that one is the southeast block. Remember, they spawn in the northwest corner of a block. This is the block that they actually tried to spawn on. How do you know southeast, northwest, all of that? Well, it's pretty easy. North will make your X coordinate go in the negative. You see the coordinates up in the top left-hand corner of the screen. That will be going in the negative for north. And then for west, it will also be going in the negative for Z. So the actual spawning block is the southeast block, the one on the positive side. But they spawn in the negative or the northwest corner of that block. So we're just going to mark the spawning block. That's what we care about, the block they spawn on. Okay, so we got that one right there. We have this one right here. Okay, so we have marked a lot of them there, but this may not be all of them, right? In fact, we kind of know because we saw before. So to clear the mob cap, we have to get more than 44 blocks away from these guys, which is why we made this little path. All we have to do is travel all the way down here. Those mobs will despawn. We travel all the way back, and then mobs will start to spawn back in again. Ooh, looks like we missed a spot right there. You may find that happens too. That's fine. What we want to do is go ahead and get rid of those guys. You'll kill them or whatever, and you'll extend that area out a little bit. Okay, and then just keep clearing the cap and coming back and finding new spots. Okay, once you've marked all of your spawning spots, which we actually got 14. Didn't we get 12 when we used the other method? We have 14 spawning spots here. Hopefully they're all actual valid spots. I think they are. What we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of spawn proofing, but we don't necessarily have to do all of it yet. I just want to keep mobs off of me while I do work in this like general area, right? Okay, now I want to show you really quick how to make one of these modules, but I want to do it in an area where you can see a little bit better. So let me get set up somewhere else really quick to make this nice and easy for you. Okay, to get started, you're going to go to where you have what I use as a diamond block, your marker block, and then you're going to look towards the northwest side of that. Remember, you're looking at negative. So we're looking towards the northwest side here, and that's where a lot of our stuff is going to go. Let's go ahead. Let's just mark it with something right now. It doesn't matter what. We're going to just mark it with that so we don't lose our spot. Go ahead and get rid of that marker block that you have there, and instead put in a piece of netherrack or any other block that you can put a wither rose on. because wither roses will block all spawns except for wither skeletons. This will be important to use because things like blazes spawning inside of our farm is going to dramatically slow it down. We want this to just be wither skeletons. Okay, so now getting back on this block side, we're at the northwest corners right here. We're going to knock out these 2 blocks right there. And we're going to just build up a little wall around this. The wall can be made of whatever you want it to be made of, but I'm going to use glass blocks so you and me can all see better. So we're going to go up 3 blocks all the way around here. And we're going to put a block right here. And then we are going to put just a little roof over this to keep anything else from possibly getting in. And you got to make sure that little roof, that little ceiling is 3 blocks high. That way the wither skeleton can come out. What'll happen here, let me get this out of my way for a moment, is the wither skeleton will spawn right here. His head will spawn inside of this glass block. And because his head's inside of the glass block, it's going to kind of push him out. And it's going to push him out into this open area. So if you had blocks here, he wouldn't get pushed. He would just kind of stay there. So with this gap here, he'll get pushed in and he'll fall. Now you're going to want to set yourself or make yourself a floor at least 7 blocks below here. That way you have a place to work from and you can generally just kind of get around safely. Okay, so once you have a floor in to work from, go ahead and surround the bottom side with glass blocks. And then you're going to want a piston facing this way, a piston facing this way, an observer looking straight up at those pistons, and then you want mud blocks between the observers. We're going to use mud blocks. It's going to make collection really easy. We can just simply use hoppers as collection. We don't need a hopper minecart. So we're going to put down 2 hoppers here so we can collect from either block, and we're just going to put a double chest right here. You can do something other than a regular double chest if you want to. You can run them all together via hoppers and send everything to an item sorter. Do what you want with the sorting system. I'm going to keep things simple here. This isn't about the storage. We're just going to use a simple storage. And something like this, a single double chest, will last you about, not super long, maybe 2 hours before it fills up with swords. So if you're going to do this, you will need to clear out the swords every so often. Now we're going to go below the observers. We're going to put solid blocks below them. On one side, we're going to put a solid block by the piston and a solid block beside the other solid block. And we're going to do that on the opposite side of the other side. Next, we want to put a redstone torch right here and a redstone torch right there. Same on the other side. You're going to want to take glass blocks and put them right beside the chest here and here. And put redstone dust on top of the glass. You're going to notice that this is starting to work as a trident killer now. You can actually even take your trident and go ahead and throw it in. That will move the trident back and forth, which will kill the wither skeletons. To be able to turn this thing on and off, I recommend that you put a lever on the piston. Don't put it anywhere else because you could possibly break the redstone circuit. So put it right there is fine. And then go ahead and just close this up with glass blocks on both sides. Your chest you can access from the side here easily. It will still open up. And that's it. That's how you make a module. You can put a couple extra tridents in there if you want to kill the wither skeletons a little bit faster, but one will do. And other than that, you just have to make this the exact same way for every single place that you have a spawn spot. Okay, I went through and got this set up in a way that many of you might like to try to set up if you were doing something like this. So I made a floor all the way around here so I can easily get to all of them. I did not overcomplicate the storage. Everything goes to a single chest. Again, if you want a better storage system where everything goes to one area, goes to item filters, whatever, by all means, go ahead and do that. But I did add on, instead of you having to like turn each trident killer on and off manually, or let's say, because you can kind of like break these, right? Let's say you leave it on and then you kind of go somewhere, or you log off, you unload the chunks, whatever, you come back. Some of them might be a little messed up. Some of them might even get stuck. So I think all of them right now are mostly fine. But anytime you accidentally leave it on when you log on and off, or you leave and come back, I would just recommend just go ahead, flip the lever off, give it a second, flip the lever back on, and everything will be automatically restarted. But it makes it super easy to just turn the thing on and off. Okay, so now this thing is set up to rock and roll. Now what we need to do though is we need to finish spawn proofing everything. Now if you're on PC or mobile, you can do this pretty easily, and you can do that via an add-on. It's the marker add-on made by Foxy No Tail. I'll make sure to link that down in the description below. And all you got to do is put down an armor. When it's active, the pack is active, you put down a armor stand, you give it a banner, you shift click it. This works totally in survival Minecraft, and it does not disable achievements, so it's super easy to use with no worries. And what this is it's showing us our simulation distance for spawning range. Anything outside of the green but inside of the red is a spawnable area. So I can just kind of look around here and more or less see and judge, what do I have to spawn proof. Now if you're on console, you don't have a way to easily get this, but you can kind of see here roughly how big the area is. I don't have to spawn proof a whole lot. I have a bit to do, but it's not a lot. You have to go 44 blocks out in every direction in a big sphere. That's what the red is. That's 44 blocks away from there in a big sphere. Now we can't just torch everything to spawn proof it, because magma cubes and ghasts, they will spawn in any light level. So we're going to actually go through in all these spaces. We're going to place down the buttons to block all the spawns. We want to make sure we get stuff like inside of here. So what I recommend you do, if you don't have this pack, spawn proof as far as you think you need, and then just go stand up there, watch around, and look and see if you see any additional mobs that are spawning in anywhere. And if you do, go ahead and spawn proof those spots, and if you don't, well, then you're good to go. Also, if you still have that creative copy of your world, another thing you could do is put yourself into spectator mode, and you can kind of look and make sure you don't have like any areas up above you. You shouldn't, like you can see here, this is all solid. It's possible that you will though. So you just want to make sure there's no hidden like caves or anything like that that you have to look out for. Like I could peek in here, like all of that seems to be fine. Which again, this is a reason why we want to make sure that we're in this type of area, because if you're in an area that has a lot of blocks, what you may find is there could be a lot of caves around that need spawn proofing that you may never know about. I guess another thing I'll address while I'm doing this, you technically don't have to spawn proof. Just know that if you don't, your rates will be slower, but you'll still get spawns, because these mobs, they will spawn and despawn naturally. So anything that spawns into the game over some random period of time, it will eventually despawn. So you will still get drops in the meantime, including while you're going through and spawn proofing everything, which is why it's great to get all the platforms and everything functional and set up first. So that way you can get spawns while you're spawn proofing everything. But I just wanted you to know you don't technically have to do it, although it drastically affects the speed of the farm if you do. Okay, everything is all done. I have to show you one thing that I had to update because I noticed a problem, and if you just copied what you saw here, you would have had the problem too. When I hooked up all of these to redstone, first of all, just use repeaters every time you have a weak signal, but also you have to put repeaters going into the block here, because what happens if you don't is this torch powers this block, and then it sends the signal out and then repowers other blocks, and it causes all sorts of wackiness with the Trident killers. So make sure going into each block you use a repeater, that way you don't have the signal trying to double itself back out and get back out to everything else. So just a minor little note there, but I think we're ready at this point on my end to go through and enable mob spawning. And if we sit here and take a close look here, let's even like go to video, let's zoom in. Oh, I saw something die there. Got some in there. Yeah, this looks good. All right, I'm gonna leave this running for a little bit, and let's see how many of these wither skeleton skulls we get in, say, an hour. Okay, an hour went by, and I did crunch the numbers, and here's what we're looking at. You're looking at 2,778 bones in an hour, 1,741 coal in an hour, and just over 2 stacks, 132 to be exact, wither skeleton skulls in an hour. Per my estimation, if you run this as is for about 2 hours, you will fill up the chest with swords, maybe even less than 2 hours in some of them. It kind of depends on the chest that we're talking about here. These ones occurred afterwards, that's why they're not in the count. So The storage as is works fine for, you know, running for an hour or two, but you will need to do a little bit more advanced storage system or add in more chests for longer runs. But this is not bad. Keep in mind that like I've seen some videos out there that claim to have higher, faster numbers than this. For the most part, this is about as fast as one of these can go without running a nether portal type setup. The only thing that increases speed is increased spawning spots, because we're filtering for just wither skeletons. They're dropping down immediately. I could maybe get a little bit more speed if I put 2, maybe 3 tridents per pod. That would speed us up a little bit too, so you can definitely do that as well. But for the most part, this is about what you're looking at in terms of as fast as a wither skeleton farm can possibly get on Bedrock Edition per spawning location. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it useful. If you did, click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.